A new year can bring change, hope, and resolutions. If conceiving is one of your 2026 New Year's resolutions, this video is for you. Today, we're going to go over the fertility reset, how to eat, exercise, and maximize your reproductive health so you can get pregnant in the new year. I'm Dr. Lora, Shahine, a double board certified OBGYN and reproductive endocrinologist helping people build their families for over 20 years. If this is your first time finding the channel, welcome. I am so glad you're here. I hope you find some information valuable. And if you're coming back because you have enjoyed previous content, welcome back. I am so happy that you are returning to the channel to learn more. There's two other ways to learn from me. Number one, my weekly newsletter. You can sign up in the description below. I give tips each week and recommendations. And the second is my weekly Brave and Curious podcast. You can listen anywhere you listen to podcasts, or you can find the playlist with all the episodes here on my YouTube channel on the podcast playlist. That is a wonderful place to listen to interviews with experts and patients in the field, or sometimes some deep dives where it's just a solo episode where I'm really trying to explain something to you in depth. Today, we are going over fertility reset for the new year, and I'm going to go through some specific topics and tips for helping you get pregnant in 2026 if that is your goal. There's 7 main topics we're going to cover. Number 1, getting your health in check. This means preconception counseling for chronic illnesses and medications and things, little tips on how to get you prepared to get pregnant. Topic number 2, when to stop birth control. If you are using birth control, when should you stop it when you're planning to try to get pregnant? Number 3, tracking cycles. You have got to understand your menstrual cycle in order to get pregnant faster. Number 4, how to time trying. You've got to understand the fertility window and when to time trying in order to make it happen sooner. Topic number 5, habits to stop. Topic number 6, habits to start. And finally, topic number 7, stick around to the end to know when to get testing and when to see a fertility specialist. Topic number 1, get your health in check. So before you get pregnant, you need to make sure that your health and your well-being are in check so you can have the healthiest pregnancy possible. So if you have chronic illnesses, asthma, diabetes, high blood pressure, whatever it is time to do a checkup with your doctor and make sure that you are maximized with your health. Let your doctor know that you are planning to get pregnant and just make sure everything is in check. Part of this is, especially if you're taking prescription medications and supplements, you want to review this with your doctor. Say, hey, I'm planning on getting pregnant. I want to go through what I'm taking and make sure it's safe in pregnancy, or switch to a different alternative which has more evidence that's safe in pregnancy, because I'm planning on getting pregnant and I want to do everything I can to optimize the health of the pregnancy. Another thing in having a checkup, it's good to get preventative health care. If it's been years since you've had a pap smear, this is the time to do that screening to make sure you don't have any abnormal cells or need any intervention before you get pregnant. Sometimes when I was a practicing OBGYN, I would see people for the first time. They hadn't seen a doctor in years, and I really wish they'd gotten a mammogram before they tried to get pregnant. I really wish they'd gotten an updated cervical cancer screening like a pap smear, because there's not a lot that you can do when you're pregnant for preventative care. But if you know beforehand and you can get everything checked, this is the time to do it. Topic number 2, when to stop birth control. Well, it depends on when you really are ready to get pregnant and what type of birth control that you're using. So for example, a Depo shot, this is a Depo-Provera shot. Depo means it lasts for a long time. Provera is a type of progesterone, and a shot is this shot that people can get every 3 months to prevent ovulation and prevent getting pregnant. So that type of birth control can really take a while for your body to get out of its system and allow your body to start ovulating again. And ovulating means releasing an egg that can meet a sperm in your fallopian tube, fertilize, turn into an embryo, and help you get pregnant. So that type of birth control, you want to stop at a minimum 6 months, of course 3 months, because it usually lasts for 3 months before you're really starting to try to conceive. And so that type of long-acting birth control is something that you want to stop soon, maybe even 6 months before you're really planning to try to conceive, because you can start to sort of see after 3 months if your body starts ovulating again. Other types of birth control, like birth control pills, Nuvo ring, even an IUD, those things you can stop and ovulate 2 weeks later and get pregnant very quickly. You do not need a washout period for birth control pills. I see that all over the internet, but sometimes people are actually even more fertile the first couple of months after stopping contraception, like birth control pills. So the washout, that is fake news. But you might want to stop a few months before you're trying to conceive to see if you're ovulating. If you are stopping birth control method for any reason before you're really ready to get pregnant, maybe you want to kind of track your cycles, learn about your own health, etc. Be sure that you're using an alternative form of birth control, something that is easily reversible, like condoms. I have a whole video on YouTube that talks about the different forms of birth control and when to stop them, to give you more detailed information on this very important topic. Topic number 3, tracking your cycles. You have got to know your menstrual cycle in order to learn when to time trying, which is the next topic. And you need to understand, if you are using a birth control pill and getting regular monthly periods, those periods are a withdrawal from the hormones in the birth control pills. Those periods are not your body ovulating and then having a bleed 2 weeks later when you're not pregnant. So sometimes people will stop birth control pills and just not get a period for 3 to 6 months, and they think to themselves, oh, I'm just in this washout period. I'm waiting for my body to sort of reset. Sometimes it can take that long, but it really shouldn't. If you're not getting periods after stopping birth control pills or the type of hormone contraception that kind of gives you a monthly bleed, if you're not getting periods, that is a reason to see a doctor sooner and get some testing, which we'll also talk a little bit more about in just a minute. But you have got to know what your cycles are. You've got to understand your periods in order to figure out when to time trying. Let's do a really quick review of the menstrual cycle, because I really want you to understand this. The menstrual cycle is about a month long. Cycle day 1 is the first day of bleeding, and when you bleed about a month later, that's cycle day 1 of the next cycle. We always talk about a 28-day cycle, but less than 25% of women actually have a predictable 28-day cycle every month. A little bit of variation is normal. Sometimes it can be 26 days, sometimes it can be 32 days. But if you're having a pretty predictable monthly cycle, that is a really good indication that you are ovulating. And ovulating, that is releasing the egg in the middle of the cycle, that has to happen for you to get pregnant, because you have to ovulate that egg out of the ovary, got to sit in the fallopian tube and wait to meet a sperm there. That's where fertilization happens. The embryo develops, cells divide, and comes down through the fallopian tube and implants into the uterine cavity. So knowing your menstrual cycle is really important. Learning when you're ovulating is really important. It'll help you conceive faster if you understand your cycle. And I've got lots of videos here on YouTube that talk about understanding the menstrual cycle, understanding when you're ovulating, really good details on ways to figure that out. That is a really important part of getting pregnant on your timeline in the new year, understanding your menstrual cycle. Topic number 4, once you understand your menstrual cycle, you can learn when to time trying to optimize intercourse, timing trying to conceive, to help it happen sooner. You've got to understand the physiology of how long the egg is viable, how long sperm is viable, so that you can optimize timing trying to conceive. There is a fertile window. We actually cannot get pregnant every single day of the cycle, even though you were probably taught that in health class, because health class, at least for me in the United States in the 80s, was all about instilling fear of getting pregnant when you are not ready and not really teaching us about our bodies. We've got to change that. But you can only get pregnant in the fertile window. There's these 6 days leading up to and including the day of ovulation. Getting pregnant outside of that window is nearly impossible. And you need to understand, after the egg ovulates, it's only viable for about 12 to 24 hours. That sounds scary. That sounds like you can only get pregnant on one day, but that's not true, because sperm can live and look for the egg for up to 5 days in the reproductive tract. So you want to front load. You want to have intercourse 2 or 3 times in that week leading up to and including the day of ovulation. You do not have to have intercourse or sperm exposure every single day. You can, that's not harmful, but it doesn't have to be. It could be 2 or 3 times in that week leading up to and including the day of ovulation. You will have sperm ready and waiting to meet that egg when it is ready. So I see so many mistakes, like people waiting until they're sure that they've ovulated and then trying to conceive. It can honestly be too late. So getting to know your cycles, understanding the signs of ovulation, whether they're physical signs like egg white changes in cervical mucus, increased interest in getting intimate with your partner, other signs of ovulation, really important to learn. You can use ovulation predictor kits. You can use basal body temperature to kind of understand when you're ovulating in your cycle. I've got lots of videos on YouTube to teach you about signs of ovulation, the fertile window, and optimizing timing trying to conceive. The more you learn up front, the faster you're going to meet your goal. Next topic in your fertility reset for the new year, habits to stop. You should stop habits that are harming your health. There are certain toxins that we know are not good for our overall health and well-being, and you should cut out these habits right away. Number 1, tobacco, smoking, vaping. Tobacco, nicotine, vaping in all forms is not good for your reproductive health. I have videos here. I have videos on YouTube that explain the physiology, explain the science, and shares the research. It is a really tough habit to break. And just because a friend smokes 2 packs of cigarettes a day and has 5 kids, that does not mean that this toxin and a lot of the chemicals that come with inhaling, especially from vaping, that does not mean that your body is going to respond well to it. And there's definitely good evidence that shows that the heavy metals that are in vaping contractions, tobacco, nicotine, inhaling, not good for reproductive health. So check out my videos for the evidence behind it if you want an in-depth information, but stop tobacco, stop vaping. It is not good for your health. Habit number 2, marijuana, THC. I understand the feeling that must be natural because it's coming from a plant. It must be okay because doctors prescribe it for people in certain situations like nausea with chemotherapy, difficulty sleeping, other indications, sometimes anxiety. Like these things can be helpful, but there is no question that these things are not good for your reproductive health. Marijuana THC decreases sperm counts. Marijuana THC disrupts ovulation, disrupts hormone health in both men and women. I have 2 videos on YouTube. One that talks about marijuana and THC and the impacts of female reproductive health, and the other video is the same topic, but for male reproductive health. I practice in the state of Washington, where it is legal recreationally to use marijuana, edibles, THC. I totally understand it can be a part of social fabric and relaxing in the evening, helping people sleep. But there is no question if you're trying to get pregnant that cutting it out is going to improve your reproductive health. I totally understand the reluctance to do that, and many patients tell me, my friend has been smoking his whole life, enjoying edibles, and has multiple kids, so it must not impact fertility because I see this in my friend group. It's just not true. It is something that you could really do to improve your overall reproductive health and well-being. Another habit to stop, or please at least modify, is alcohol. I know alcohol is definitely a part of our social fabric. It's a part of celebrating. It's a part of parties and social gatherings. It's a way that a lot of people unwind and kind of break from the everyday stresses of work life to relaxing in the evening. I understand this, but alcohol is not good for our health. It disrupts our sleep. It disrupts hormone production, throws off our circadian rhythms, and so much of our reproductive health is happening while we sleep. It takes a lot for our bodies and our livers to process alcohol, and we could be using that energy for something else. So I don't want people to completely eliminate it if they enjoy it every once in a while. They're celebrating, they're going out to a special dinner, but alcohol should not be a part of our everyday life. One of the worst things that we can do is binge drinking. So check out my video on YouTube on alcohol and fertility to share the evidence and see what the research shows. But a really heavy night of alcohol can really disrupt our reproductive health. So you got to be careful about that. A lot of people will kind of do dry January, and I think that that's wonderful, but really take that dry January, and if you reintroduce alcohol into your life in February, please do it very sparingly because it really is not good for our reproductive health. The last habit that I want you to stop is not paying attention to your overall health and well-being. I know that's a double negative. What I mean is this is the time to be healthy, because the healthier you are overall, the better your reproductive health is going to be. I can't tell you how many patients I've seen in my practice over the years that have been struggling to conceive for a year or two or more, or had failed treatments. And I'm the first doctor to bring up to them, hey, let's focus on your nutrition, your exercise, your sleep, your wellness. And they sort of think, gosh, like, why haven't we talked about this before? You know, we take our fertility for granted until we realize that we are infertile. And so if you are planning to get pregnant this year, you have an opportunity to optimize your overall health so that you get pregnant not only sooner, but you have a healthier pregnancy. So that leads me to my next topic. What are habits that you can focus on and adopt so that you can be more reproductively healthy? Topic number 6, habits to start. Maybe you're already working on this, but these are habits you should adopt or really focus on in the new year to help your reproductive health. Nutrition, sleep, exercise, stress management. It seems like a broken record. I know that you see information about this on Instagram, but I do want to emphasize that focusing on your overall health and well-being is only going to help your fertility and help you meet your goal of getting pregnant sooner. This goes for both partners. This is for women, this is for men. It's so important to think about your overall health. Nutrition, number 1. Listen, this is not a huge overhaul and just eating like raw carrots for the rest of 2026. It just means making more healthy choices, thinking about what you're eating, thinking about eating less processed food, more fresh and whole foods can be really helpful, increasing fiber. These are all things that we do know. It's just time to really start to pay attention. The one diet that has absolutely been associated with increased fertility is the Mediterranean diet, and it kind of makes sense. It's more fresh fruits and vegetables. It is animal protein is okay, but less red meat, more, fish and chicken if you're going to have animal protein. Your nutrition is important, so it's time to pay attention to it. Got lots of videos on YouTube going through the evidence and the diets and even specific foods you can focus on when you go to the grocery store to optimize your nutrition. Exercise. Exercise is so important. It's important for your physical health. It's important for your mental health. But this is not the time to over-exercise or to really strain your body. This is not the time to start training for a marathon. This is not the time to do your first ever Ironman or triathlon. Listen, I love those things. I think it is fantastic. But pushing your body to extremes is going to increase your cortisol levels. It's going to give you the endorphin rush that might feel really good. You might, physically feel better because you're looking good. But if your body realizes that you are focusing on energy in order to maximize your physical performance, it is not going to be focusing on having a baby. I know that's a kind of a big concept, and I'm not saying stop exercising. That's actually another extreme that is not good. You want to find low impact exercise that you can do on a regular basis that helps you feel better. And it doesn't mean that you can't push yourself a little bit, but I just mean really focus on, restorative exercise, low impact, feeling good, and not pushing your body to extremes. Got great videos on YouTube that talk about exercise while you're trying to conceive, exercise during IVF, kind of explains why you can get many different recommendations from different resources, but I review the evidence and I go over the recommendations that I give my own patients, and I hope it's helpful. Sleep. This is hands down one of the most important things, and as I have reached my midlife, that I cherish. Sleep is so important. It is not cool to brag about how you can get tons of work done on like 4 hours of sleep. Nope. Sleep is important. It is when your body heals. It's when your hormones reset. It is when you go through stress of the day. Sleep is extremely important, and we should be trying to get 7 to 8 hours consistently. I have a whole video on YouTube that talks about sleep hygiene, tips for making your room quiet, keeping a consistent schedule, even on the weekends, is really important. Kind of having really disruptive things where one night you're up until 2 a.m. and then you sleep until, noon. And then during the week, you're trying to get to sleep at 9 p.m., but you can't because you're out of whack and getting up at, 6 a.m. Trying to keep a consistent schedule is something that is really easy. Getting off screens before bed can be really helpful. Just the, quick, Instagram reels or TikTok that is just like stimulating your brain. You got to get off of that as soon as you can. Developing sleep routines, extremely important. Sleep is key. Finally, a habit to really focus on is stress management. Notice that I didn't say eliminate stress. We can't eliminate stress. We live in a stressful world. Stress happens to us, but we can manage, we can build tools to help us process and manage stress so that when these stressful things come our way, we can recover faster. There are so many different options. There's apps you can use. Therapy is amazing. Taking regular walks, doing things that you enjoy, that is a part of stress management. Breathing techniques. I have many tools and resources available on YouTube. I've got blog posts that talk about stress management ideas. I can't emphasize enough that paying attention to your mental health is crucial in this family building process, and it's never too early to start working on and finding the tools that work for you. One last habit to start when you're trying to conceive, take a prenatal vitamin. If you are taking a prenatal vitamin up to 3 months before you actually conceive, you have a lower risk of hyperemesis or nausea in pregnancy. You're getting your B6 levels up. If you're taking a prenatal vitamin, you're getting your vitamin D levels up, which is really important for your immune health, your reproductive health. Having folic acid on board when you conceive decreases the risk of birth defects associated with neural tube defects by over 90%. So start getting into the habit of taking a prenatal vitamin daily. A little recap before we get to our final topic. We have talked about a fertility reset in the new year. Topics that we've covered so far: getting your health in check, having a little check-in with your primary care doctor for chronic health issues, getting screens, updates, clarifying medications that you might be taking and whether you should switch before you get pregnant. Topic number 2, when to stop birth control. The answer is based on what you're using and when you want to conceive. Topic number 3, tracking your cycles. Understanding your menstrual cycle is key to getting pregnant sooner. Topic number 4, timing trying. Understanding when you ovulate in the middle of your menstrual cycle will help you get pregnant faster. Topic number 5, habits to stop. Topic number 6, habits to start or focus on in the new year. Now, our final topic, topic number 7, is when to get testing and when to see a fertility specialist. So this can differ. If you look in textbooks, it will say you should try for a year before you see a fertility specialist or before you get testing. If the female partner is age 35 or older, you should only try for 6 months before you seek testing and care. That's because fertility decreases with age. So the thought is if there's an issue, you want to find out sooner. These guidelines come from the fact that 85% of people with regular, predictable menstrual cycles will conceive within the first 12 cycles of trying. As long as they've got sperm exposure, as long as they're ovulating regularly, as long as their anatomy is okay. And so the recommendation is try for about a year before you seek testing, because you're probably going to be okay. Well, maybe not. You should definitely see a doctor and seek testing if you are not having regular menstrual cycles. So that year is only correct if someone is ovulating once a month. That's like 12 tries in a year. If you are having irregular and unpredictable menstrual cycles, meaning you skip cycles or you could maybe not have a menstrual cycle for 3 to 6 months, seek care and testing sooner, because you've got to figure out why you're not ovulating and help yourself ovulate with the help of a doctor in order for you to conceive. So if you are not having regular menstrual cycles, if you're not sure that you're ovulating, seek care and testing sooner. Another reason to seek care sooner than a year or 6 months if you're age 35 or older is if you have a known fertility issue. If you know you have endometriosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome, fibroids, if you know that you might have a diagnosis that could decrease your chances of getting pregnant on your timeline, There is no harm in getting testing and advice sooner so you can come up with a plan. It doesn't mean that you have to do treatment when you see a doctor, but it's really a good idea to have a discussion, testing, review your family building goals, review age, review your ovarian reserve. Make sure you do a semen analysis sooner rather than later, because you really don't want to look back and say, gosh, why didn't I see someone sooner? I hope you found this information valuable. I hope you have the tips and the education that you need to meet your pregnancy goals for 2026. Like this video if you learned something, comment with questions that you have. Be sure and subscribe to this channel so you get my weekly videos all about reproductive health. And until next week, stay brave and curious.